Hi, Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. With me today, I've got Bertrand Godillot, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about AI. AI from very basic to a little bit more intermediate in terms of its use, how you could be using it within sales and marketing, and the way that you can get the best from it. So, Bertrand, where can people find you?
Good morning, Tim. My name is Bertrand Godillot. I am the founder and managing partner of Odysseus & Co. And you can find me on LinkedIn.
Excellent.
Pretty easy.
So in terms of some context, you're doing some work at the moment, aren't you, around AI? What could you just explain a little bit what that is?
Well, I think that most people who are generating content or creating content and sharing content, I've gone through the experience of using AI because it seems like something that can be quite useful, save you time, etc. And I have, to be honest, I've fallen into that trap initially. And then from then moved into how can we make that useful and efficient.
Okay, so let's start with something really, really basic, which is, okay, so what is a prompt?
Okay, I think this one has multiple answers on the net. There are countless content about prompt engineering. So what is a prompt? It's pretty easy to understand. It's a set of instructions. So it's guidance is what you would actually ask even colleagues to do or your teammates to do. So it's a set of instructions.
It's in effect a plain English instruction. So it's not like you're having to write code or anything. You can just basically say, write me a blog on Tim's podcast.
Yeah, well, there are different stages, you could say, in how you write this. But yes, you could perfectly start with plain English. There are again a lot of examples of that that you can find to really create some structure, so that you're well understood by the LLM that you're using.
Okay. So why does this not seem to be working for people?
I would not say it's not working, right? But it is. I think it goes back to the design of LLMs, and the design is statistical. So that what these things are doing, although it looks really mind blowing, they are doing some basic statistics. So they are trying to predict what is the best next word. So when you get into generating content, what's happening is based on your instructions. The AI will come back with a text that does make sense, and most of the time, I have to say, it's quite bluffing. The reality is that when you get into really figuring out what are the ideas, or what are or the way these ideas are phrased, you will probably, just like anybody else, experience the fact that it sounds a little bit like doublespeak.
So, I mean, if I was a salesperson and I wanted to write an article, say, for example, I sold into the life sciences marketplace. So it could be life sciences, it could be financial services, where there is particular terminology that I would need to that I would need, or I would want to use in the blog. I can write a prompt and say, write me an article about drug testing. But I'll actually want really there to be information about that terminology. Now, there is an ability for the AI to ultimately to have scanned it sometime and indexed it somewhere on the internet, but you're kind of trusting to luck, aren't you? And something quite something very clear where you need to actually talk about certain legislation or something like that, it may not actually know that.
Well, there are different uses, and I would say most of the providers today allow you to do what they call deep search, which is not only sticking to the data that the model has been trained on, but also searching across the internet and come back with multiple sources, gather a lot of content that are obviously public, so they are available on websites, etc. So it tends to be searching for providers' content. So if you're looking for, I don't know, if you're in life science and you're looking for clinical trial solutions, then obviously the whole bandwagon of clinical trials providers and their websites and their content will be visited and then summarized. So I would not say that, and this is probably why at the end of the day you end up with a little bit of a doublespeak, because yes, you're going to get a lot of content. It's going to be indexed. You can, by the way, in your prompt, specify that you're only willing to get trusted sources, but it will give you a little bit more of context, of course, and that might be very useful. So, for instance, if you want to define an ideal customer profile being a chief revenue officer, you can run one of these deep searches and get some pretty extensive background on what are the challenges, the objectives, the goals of a chief revenue officer in a specific market.
So for us to get the best from AI, I guess, say for example, we're going to write an article about clinical trials. Mm-hmm. Let's carry on with that metaphor. And what we want to know is, what is a CFO's view about it? I guess what we would need to do is ask it to search on what the CFO's requirements are, and then possibly load that into the LMM to when we actually write the blog itself.
Exactly. So you can use, and this is where we get into the flip side of the coin. So we talk a lot about prompt engineering, but we also need to talk about context engineering.
Okay, so talk to us about context engineering.
And this is where you've got to think about what you're trying to achieve. Obviously, I would say the level of complexity increases as you are willing to have a single voice. So, and from that perspective, being a company, having all of your solution spreadsheets uploaded, your target customers, your ideal customer profiles, the characteristics of the markets and your customers, all of that can be added as a resource or I would call it rather a knowledge base to the core of the engine, so that the outcome will be ultimately tuned to your specific context. Pretty easy to do as a company. When it comes to a salesperson of that company that would actually want to generate content meaningful to their ICP for their ICPs, this is where it gets a little bit more challenging.
So just before we get any further, just wanted to say, Andrew Slessor says, good morning, gentlemen. So good morning to you, Andrew. Thanks for joining us. So this is not something that a salesperson would do themselves.
Well, they would probably, well, you could do that yourself, with a little bit of guidance, of course. But
yeah. I mean, but what you're saying, to summarize what you're saying, you could be bringing in ideal customer persona, so ICP information. You could be bringing in case study information. You could be bringing in brand guidelines, your own website, keywords, vertical knowledge, account knowledge. So, for example, if you were selling to AstraZeneca, you could bring in a set of their financial accounts. You could bring in all of that to help you, in effect, create the context for AI. I mean, it is possible for a salesperson to do it, but they kind of should be sitting in front of customers, shouldn't they?
Yeah, well, yes. I think part of that, as we discussed, part of that is corporate responsibility,
right.
To provide you with what you need. I would say that when it comes to a dedicated target, a target account, for instance, there are also ways for you as an individual contributor, you could say, to gather this type of knowledge. But on top of that, that will give you really the corporate background. Okay, so solution background and all of this stuff. It will not give you what makes you different.
Right.
And this
because
is
on the basis that SAP will have an ISP, case studies, brand guidelines, Oracle have exactly the same, yes. Workday have exactly the same. So all it does is it means that we're the same as everybody else.
Yes, at the end of the day, that's the risk, So, so if you stay at that level, let's put it this way, and take an analogy, it would be exactly the same as broadcasting as an individual contributor a corporate content.
Right.
So we know that it's broadcast, it's reposting a case study. That doesn't really make you appear as very useful or different. And maybe different and useful are actually quite synonym in that specific area. So you're gonna have to work on your voice, on what makes you who you are, on what makes you Team Hughes. So yeah. and Team Hughes is different from anybody else. So yeah. That's where I think the main piece of work actually lies.
Okay. So in terms of creating that tone of voice, if I've not written anything before, how do I create that tone of voice if I've not written any blogs?
Well, you do. Obviously, that's the best case scenario. You've got 200 original pieces of content. That helps a lot. But I think it goes back to who are you. So, an easy part for that is if you've got a great LinkedIn profile that talks about you and not about what you do, actually talks about both, but doesn't miss the piece, who are you? That could be a very interesting starting point. And if you've not written any blogs, that's okay. I'm sure you have written a number of of executive summaries. You've got probably hundreds of emails where you articulate things that you want to put in front of your customers. You may have written some letters also, maybe sometimes, maybe for the boomers, but that's okay. You can take all of that, and that will help your favorite AI assistant to answer the question, what is my tone of voice?
So in effect, you could create, I think what they call it, synthetic data, couldn't you, in terms of bringing that together rather than saying, here's 200 or 50 blogs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what is a teammate or a sparring partner?
So I think so. There are two things that I believe that you need to think about. The first thing is the true question that AI raises is, where do you make a difference? So that will help you avoid some significant traps, I would say.
Yeah.
So you won't get an AI to write for you if you believe that writing is one of your competencies. So and an area in which you make a difference. So that's the first question. Where do I make a difference? Because that question, the answer to that question will drive. Okay, so what can I delegate then? Because I am not making a difference. And this is where the whole concept of teammate kicks in, because if you are delegating, it means that you are delegating to you would behave exactly the same as you would be as in an organization. So that you will delegate some of your tasks to a colleague. And that's why the idea of teammate comes from there, but it brings other things like delegating is okay, but delegating goes with control, with reviews, and therefore the same should apply to any AI teammate. So to any work you delegate to an AI.
So in effect, you need to check, because we as we've heard, AIs hallucinate, or they don't tell the truth. Therefore, we always need to check what's being created or what.
Yeah, it can hallucinate, but it can also over time derive from the objective.
Yeah,
and that is why you need both sides. You need obviously you need the prompt engineering, so you need to be pretty clear about what you're expecting, and you also need the other side, which is this is the context that you should be operating with, and that context includes me and my solutions and me and the things and what I'm doing. So once you've done that, you're going to have probably very quickly 3, 5, 10 teammates. So you are acting as a team, and therefore you do have a management role in that team, just like you would do if you had individuals working for you, so working with you. So that's it. Very clear objectives. You could potentially say smart objectives, but then
just like you would give an individual that you were working with.
Reviews and improvement plans. And by the way, that works both ways. It works for you, managing your teammates, but it also works for your teammates. So nothing prevents you from asking your teammates, so do you have the right guidance? Do you need more? Do you need some help?
You've used a term in the past, an ecosystem of reference. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think that so it's exactly what we just described. This is about your context, and if we think about your context within an organization, it means that your ecosystem of reference is all about things that you need to bring to the table to get great outputs. This is about your solution, your market, your ICPs, your beliefs. What do you believe is right? Because again, think statistical. If you don't provide beliefs, then the average will, the average conviction will actually be taken into account. And the same thing, and the other side of the story of that ecosystem is you. Because you may change over time as well. You may focus on different areas of your solution and market over time. And that is something that needs to be, this all put together is what I call your ecosystem of reference. And this is what you will provide to each and every member of your AI team.
And we've had a comment from Adam Gray. Thank you, Adam. An ecosystem of reference. What a great phrase.
Thanks, Adam.
So you've also talked about in a framework. We talked about synthetic data, which kind of sounds like a techie term, but it's actually relevant which is that I know in the customers that you've been working with, they haven't had the relevant data, and you've had to go out and create it without actually describing without giving any explaining who the business is. Can you explain what you've done?
Yeah, because that's very simple use case, to be honest, and a very common issue. So one of my customers and many customers are not that precise when it comes to describing their audience. That is, in marketing terms, their ideal customer profiles. So I think so this is what I did, very pragmatic.
Yeah.
We had a 2 hours discussion with the head of marketing, the head of sales, and the CEO about their targets, their target market, who they are selling to, their ICPs. We have recorded this, we have transcribed this, and out of that, so that's one part of the equation. The other part of the equation is the precise definition, at least what I consider as a precise definition of an ideal customer profile. Gave both of this to an AI teammate, and surprise, surprise, we got 15 perfectly described ICPs after that exercise. So it's not only about generating content, but it's also about getting practical, pragmatic, fresh inputs from the field, which is sometimes actually even is a nice. Let's put it in a cool way. It's a nice addition to every other content that you could get from corporate.
Yeah, I must admit, I've asked people about their ICP, and they say, yeah, we've got it. And they say, can you give it to me in writing? I say, no, it's in our heads. And then when it out of down, it would be, they've got a pulse. Anyway, Bertrand, thank you so much for coming on and giving us an overview of AI and an update on where you are with AI. Where can people find you?
Well, thanks, Tim, for having me. You can find me on LinkedIn, Bertrand Godillot. There's only one of them on LinkedIn, and odysseus.co.com.
Excellent. Bertrand, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom. And thank you to Andrew and Adam for your comments.